I'm Dana, and today we're talking about something that I never really thought I would end up talking about, which is private healthcare at an autistic accommodation. And I am going to be specifically talking about dental care because that's the thing that I've just experienced. But I want to start off by pointing out that for a lot of people, they're only going to get an autism diagnosis by going with private healthcare. So this is going to be very UK focused because I live in the UK and I'm most familiar with the systems that we have here. So for a lot of people, they can't just wait on the NHS waiting list like I could. I did it several years ago when it was like a year and a half, 2 years long. Thanks out, man. And that's gone like exponentially up. You'll be waiting so stupidly long of a time that lots and lots of people who are able to are going and getting diagnosed privately, which is very smart. I would have done it if I could have. And for a lot of people, that will be the first accommodation they make for themselves as an autistic person in general, is just finding out that they are an autistic person. But obviously I didn't need to do that. I don't have experience with that. I just felt like it was something that I should point out. But all the rest of this is going to be very my experience, because I recently went to Dr. Res Dental. I'll link the video here of me getting the vampire fangs. It was super cool. So getting the fangs was free for me. It's like a little like influencer deal type of thing. I made the content for it. I showed them off. I'm gonna make another video about them as well, I think. But that was free. That was like a paid influencer thingy bob for me. I don't know what to call it. I just want to be very transparent and obvious. What wasn't free was the checkup and like signing on as a patient I had to do with them to be able to like do the fangs, you know? So I paid £95 to get a checkup and to have like to be put on their books as a new patient. I think I paid £60 with my last dental practice. I don't entirely remember. And very quickly, the way dentist stuff works in the UK is that you can be an NHS or a private patient. Some places take both. So the last place I was with was technically a private dentistry, but I was an NHS patient for a good chunk of the time I was there, which should have meant that I got my treatment for free, but I didn't. And I just had a lot of issues with them. I didn't trust that they knew what they were doing. Like, they gave me fillings that they were like, oh, we don't even need to drill. This is such like a great filling for you that I paid for. And when I've gone to this new dentist, they're like, there's nothing there to fill, you know? I had a lot of issues with them and I really didn't trust them and I really didn't like them. And that has been my entire experience of dentist, you know, my entire experience of healthcare, to be honest. Dental, general health, mental health, any of it has been very, I don't feel like these people necessarily really know what they're doing, but I can't say anything because they are trained and I'm not, but it doesn't feel right. I don't trust it. I'm anxious, I'm scared. It's just all around always been a very bad experience. Right from my childhood, my main memory of the dentist is laying in the chair and counting the holes that are always in the ceiling. They always have ceilings with like speckles or dots or holes. I hate it. It makes me feel weird to look at, and then I'm like, I don't know where to look or what to do, so I just count them. Which brings me to my next part, my real first point of why my private dental care experience is now an autistic accommodation in my eyes, which is that this one especially, the one that I've been going to, Dr. Res, is a sensory-friendly environment. Obviously, the things that I'm saying won't apply to like every private healthcare place or every private dentistry place. I am going purely off my own experience. But the place that I went to is like standard prices for private dental care, you know? And the environment and the office space and like the general environment that you're within, they have made so sensory friendly and just easy to be in. It took me like, I was in there for the 4th time yesterday, and I think it was then that I like really picked up on everything they've done, because there is just so much effort that has been put in to make it a nice space to be in. And they do have like a focus towards autistic people, making it comfortable for like neurodivergent people, but they are also just a standard private dentist. They're doing that because, you know, they want people to pay them and so on and so forth. I get it. It's an industry. But when an industry is doing something that really benefits me, I'm going to appreciate it and talk about it and be like, this is really good. So for starters, the waiting room and general foyer area is very just nice. I don't know how else to describe it. All of it is so like calm and relaxing. Like, it's all white, but the lighting is a really, really good place to start, I think, because of a lot of it's like backlit and uplit and stuff. So even though it's very bright and you can see everything is lit up. It's not that type of light where you're like, you know, it's not a sensorily bothering light. I'm not like, shit, I need sunglasses to be in this place. It's just bright and light and airy without being too much sensorily. They have little air humidifier things, so that there's a very standard, like, non-medical, non-dental smell throughout the practice. Like, none of it smells like a dentist, you know? One of my big things has always been sitting in the waiting room and being like, the smell in here, like, just the smell of a dentist, and being like, that smells like people's, like, teeth being drilled and whatever. I get really bothered by a lot of smells, and it's that kind of thing where, like, I noticed that there wasn't a smell. I didn't notice that, like, they've covered it up with something or hidden it. They've just managed to get it so that it doesn't really smell like anything. And I really appreciate that. It really, like, there's so many things that I didn't realise made me nervous and made me really anxious in the dentist that I now have recognised and realised because they didn't do it. And to go back to my point about just staring at the ceiling and counting the holes, they have, like, lit up canvas type ceiling things. I'll probably hopefully insert little video clips in here, but they have just like a big sky that I could look at, and again, like, it's lit, it's backlit, it's quite bright, but it's not like a sensorily bothering light, you know, it's not that bright. It was genuinely pleasant to look at, and I really liked feeling like I had something to look at while I was laying there with someone doing things in my mouth, you know. And finally, for like the sensory niceness of it all, there's not many sounds. Obviously some things they cannot help. They are doing work on people. They are a genuine working dentist office. I have heard a little bit of drilling, a little bit of chattering, but it's very, very quiet compared to all the dentist offices that I've been in. And when you're the person having something done or having a conversation in one of the other rooms, you don't hear anything. And that's the other thing, is they have like little consultation rooms so that you're not stuck in like the actual dentistry room or in the waiting room talking to the dentist. You have a little, like, several little side rooms that are very comfortable, you know, like, you know, again, pleasant lighting, the little like humidifier thingies. It's just a really, really nice, really, really well thought out and planned and like made nice intentionally sensory experience for me, and like sensory environment. And it's not a horrible scary place to go to, you know. I'm not leaving it with a headache and being like, oh my god, I can't believe I have to come back here and also have things done to my teeth, all this, you know. Normally dentist places are just so much already that I'm like, I don't even want anyone to fucking look at me or touch me or think about me, never mind put their hands in my mouth. And that's not the way it is there. I also felt like the staff were all like very experienced with neurodivergent people. I don't know if they've like received specific training or whatever for that. I probably should have asked, I don't lie to you, I'm gonna make a video about it. But I don't know. But I've had experience with staff members of various other organisations that have been trained to deal with autism and like trained to deal with neurodivergent people. They tend to suck, and it's not their fault. The training that is in place, for me, like, in my opinion, is often just not up to scratch. It doesn't do the job. It's not training them in what you actually are trying to do, you know. It often results in them being quite condescending and crappy for people that are like me, which is where I say that Dr. Rez and like having a private dental place, they have experienced staff, you know. They might have received whatever training people get, but they've actually had experience with neurodivergent patients, and they know what to do with us and how to deal with us and what to like do, you know? So the environment's already set up for us. And then the staff are very like, I assumed that they all knew that I was autistic going in because I was doing like a whole influencery setup thing for them. But there were a few times that I mentioned it and they were like, oh, do you need any accommodations? So I don't think everybody did know, but it was very, very simple and easy to let them know, you know. Like, it wasn't some big like, oh, you're autistic like I've had with some other places. It was a very like, oh yeah, we're used to this, anything you need? And I didn't, because I'd already sorted everything that I would have normally asked for, you know? And things like having my tangle and stimming a lot at one of the appointments, and I generally just stim a lot, you know. I've got like spinny rings and everything so I can stim. I do a lot with my little hands, and in a lot of like, it's not a professional situation, but you know, like the way it feels at a dentist, I feel like I shouldn't, I feel like it's puts across a certain like message about me as a patient or whatever. I've had a lot of people like look, and I've even had people ask what I'm doing, but I was stimming the whole time, and like they maybe glanced at it, they maybe noticed what I was doing, but I didn't notice that. I didn't notice them be at all like weird or like care essentially what I was doing, you know, beyond like the general like care of me as a patient and making sure I was okay that way. I feel like I could have just done whatever I needed to feel better. Like, I could have been there flapping and they would have just let me, they would have been fine with it, they wouldn't have judged me, they wouldn't have made me feel judged, you know. Like, it's just so nice to be around people where it's a very anxiety inducing situation for me, and I'm very like scared of being around people and saying the wrong thing, and they were all just so nice and so ready to put you at ease and knew what to do to put me at ease. And it's not something I've ever experienced from healthcare before in the UK. Like from NHS healthcare, I've never ever experienced that level of just like care, you know, not only in the way that they are actively caring, but also in like actually giving a shit. And like I said before, I've also often had the situations where I really don't trust the people that are doing things to my mouth. And I've been given reason to, you know, like I've had multiple fillings that have fallen out the same day, and there was nothing like wrong with my tooth, and I paid good money for it, you know. I was told that I needed to have my jaw broken to remove my bottom wisdom tooth before it grew in, and it's growing in. I've had it for years, it's fine. No other dentist have ever seen an issue with it, you know. I've had so many different dentists tell me like, you need all of this done, just for the next one to be like, no, don't be ridiculous, you need all this other stuff done. And as someone who's already very anxious about my teeth and hates going to the dentist, it's terrifying. You know, like I can't tell you how many like literally sleepless nights I've had because every time I close my eyes I like feel like all of my teeth are falling out, and I have such a thing about my teeth. You know, and I've sort of like over the years convinced myself that it's a me issue, it's me not trusting dentists, it's not the dentist's fault, they're trained professionals. Sorry, having cats is a whole lifestyle. But yeah, I'd like very much nearly convinced myself that like it was a me issue and not the dentist that I was seeing. And I do think now I just saw lots of like cowboy dentists. I don't think I was seeing people who, you know, if they were trained, they'd forgotten a lot of it. I don't trust a single person I saw before I went to Dr. Res Dental, because my teeth are nowhere near as bad as everyone said. And I sort of thought that, you know, as much as I'm like, there's all sorts wrong with my teeth and they're gonna just crumble and fall out of my face any moment, I was also like, I mouthwash twice a day, I brush my teeth twice a day, I think about my teeth a lot and like constantly like, check them, and like when I see new little products that are meant to be good for your teeth, I buy them and use them, you know, like I do everything you're supposed to do for your teeth, essentially. Like I should floss more, I'm gonna get a water pick, but you know, for the most part I do everything you're supposed to for your teeth. They should not be that bad. And I'll give that going to Dr. Res, I now know that I need 2 fillings up here and that's going to cost me £300. But that's also a very standard price from what I've seen. Like I said, I think it was like, I was going to be paying, I want to say 95 again, even though that's the exact amount I paid to become a patient with Dr. Res, but I'm pretty sure my last dentist place started at 95 and then went up in £20 increments for if you wanted a black filling, a grey filling or a white filling, and those were the options. Whereas instead with Dr. Res for £150 I'm going to be able to get a filling that like colour matches my tooth and doesn't look weird, you know. But also, out of my entire mouth of teeth, all I need is 2 fillings and 2 teeth next to each other, where I do occasionally have pain when I'm eating sugary things. So I'm very like, that makes total sense. I fully trust that this dentist like knows what he is doing, you know? And like, it sounds silly. It sounds like, well, duh, go to a dentist that you trust. But I've gone to like dentist after dentist after dentist. Literally every dentist that I have had in my entire life, I have not trusted, and I've been like, I don't feel like this person knows what they're doing. So it is kind of a big deal to go and sit down in a dentist chair and put the sunglasses on and look at the little sky thing and be like, I'm centrally comfortable. I feel like this is a trustworthy environment to be in. I feel like when these people tell me, hey, this is up with your mouth, I can be like, oh cool, that's up with my mouth, how do we fix it? You know, and they're going to know how to fix it and they're going to do it properly. I don't feel any sort of like nerves or fear for the first time in my life around having dentistry work done. That's a lie. It is a little scary still. I don't really want stuff happening to my teeth, but I'm not scared that they're going to do it wrong or that it doesn't really need doing or anything like that, you know? It's not the dentist that's scaring me, it's just the whole situation now. Whereas before, it was the whole situation and the dentist and everything that went into it. And I do think that that is somewhat because it's a private dentist place, you know? I'm going to do another disclaimer here that I'm not a particularly educated person. I've never been to a private health place before. I've never been able to afford anything like that. I've never been able to afford anything like that before. I don't know much about these industries. I don't know very much about things in general. But I do feel like it's a degree of, you know, a lot of the people that are coming here will have the money and they will be paying for like cosmetic things like whitening and like making your teeth pretty, you know, you're paying for your dentistry care, and that does, from what I feel and what I've seen create a sort of more competitive standard where, like, if they're not good, they're going to end up getting closed down, you know? People aren't going to go to them, people aren't going to pay them, they're not going to exist anymore, they will lose their business. If they're not doing things properly, if they're not creating a nice environment, if they're not making people want to go back to them, they're not gonna last. You know, and as much as I'm usually the first to be like, capitalism bad, in this case it's created a really, really great dentist practice where I trust that they know what they're doing. I think there's a very high standard of care because you are paying for it, they are having to like work for your money and whatever, and I don't necessarily like it. I do think that all healthcare should be free. I think that if you need a filling, it should be free. If, you know, I didn't choose to have this body, I didn't choose to exist. We have the NHS in this country for a reason. As much as it's dying off, I don't want it to. You know, I have a lot of opinions on that. However, we also live in the world that we live in, and I have the options that I have, and I would rather take a nicer option of paying for my dental care and feeling like they know what they're doing and feeling like I'm actually respected as a person, as a patient, as someone who is autistic and who does have a bit of a harder time perhaps than the average person dealing with the things that having dental work and being in a dentist's office contains, you know? Like, as much as I know lots of people are scared of the dentist, I do think that, like, you know, there's a big difference between just being scared of the dentist. Not that it's like you're just scared of the dentist. Like, it's a very, like, valid, big phobia. I understand that. I experience it too. But I do think there's the added levels of being autistic and having to deal with that, where it's like, you're already terrified and then the sensory issues. There's been times with other dentists that I've worn my sunflower lanyard so I can be like, I am autistic, like, help me out a bit here. And they just infantilise me and treat me like I'm a complete child or idiot, you know? There's a lot of different ways in which I've been made to feel very uncomfortable and terrified in various dentistry situations and offices. And I do think that it is very much accommodating to myself as an autistic person to pay for something that I can, to be a little bit nicer. And it's the whole thing of like, no, we shouldn't have to pay for accommodations to be met. We shouldn't have to pay for things to just work for us in society. But sometimes you do, and when it does happen, I would rather pay for it and have it be nice and know that I am getting what I am actually looking for and what I want and what I need, you know? And also, as much as I am, you know, talking about the specific dentistry office that I went to, which was Dr. Res Dental, obviously, like, I'm not paid to talk about this bit. Like, I just needed to have a checkup because I needed to have a checkup to get the fangs that they gave me for free. Like, this was all, like, very, like, I was a bit surprised, honestly. I wasn't expecting to have to pay anything. I thought I was going to like walk in and be like full influencer. But it was like, I haven't had a dentist checkup in like 3 years or something. Like, I should just do it and pay for it and go ahead with it. And I'm really glad that I did, because obviously, like, I didn't know what it'd be like. And I did walk in with all the like usual apprehensions that I have about the dentist. And I was just very quickly put at ease and made me feel very comfortable there. And it was after the checkup that I was just like, I can't go to another dentist after this. Like, you know, all of the feelings that I had about going to the dentist were things I thought I had to deal with. That's how it is to go to the dentist. That's the situation. That's what you've got to do. You're growing up with teeth. You're going to have to deal with it. And after going to Dr. Res and being like, I don't have to deal with it. It can be like a genuinely pleasant experience, you know? Like, dentist appointments in the past have been a full day ordeal for me because I'm terrified and anxious all morning waiting for the appointment. I get there, it's horrible, you know? I'm sat in the waiting room with lots of other people and I'm getting a headache. It's too bright, it's too loud. I can hear like everything they're doing to people in the other rooms. They're bringing the patients out into the waiting room to be like, and then you need to come back for this and this and this. There's just so much happening before I've even gone in to have my own work done. And then I'm going in and being like, I don't think this guy knows what he's doing. I don't think that's really an issue. I'm not being listened to, and I am saying I think this thing's an issue. Like, it's usually such a horrifically like day-long, just stressful, horrible experience where I'm leaving with a headache and feeling like so much tension in my jaw. Like, I get such a tense jaw anyway, and it'd be so much more tense after being to the dentist, as well as like anything they'd done to my teeth, any poking and prodding. Like, it just, you know, it was truly fucking horrible. And I feel like for most people it's like, oh well, you're there for an hour and then it's over, but for me, like, it felt like it lasted all day and I could still feel them in my mouth, and it was just the worst experience. And going to Dr. Res and having a checkup and leaving and hanging out with my friends and drinking just like Pepsi and like coffee and shit. I don't mean like getting on it after the dentist, but you know, just living my life afterwards and being like, having a dentist appointment didn't just ruin my whole day, you know? Like, it was fine. I'm fine afterwards. I can just go about and continue doing things and living my life and having a day. Like, it seems so obvious that that's how it should be, but that's not how it's ever been for me before. I'm not giving that up. I'm sorry. It really is one of those things where I did not know what I was missing, and as soon as I did, I was like, I can't go back. I cannot go back to my last dentist. Like, I need to be with Dr. Rez. I'm gonna have dental care. I don't feel like I have another option, honestly. Like, I could not go back to my last dentist. I can't do it. You know, I feel like a lot of the time people like being like, oh, you say you can't, it's just an excuse. And it's like, I don't think I'd be able to make myself walk through the door, and if I did, I sure as fuck wouldn't be able to sit down in the seat and open my mouth for them, because they were wrong. You know, it's not even like I didn't trust them. They did work that I didn't need. There's work that I do need that they just didn't notice. You know, like, they don't know what they're doing. I can't go back there. Especially now I know what I'm missing. And final point, because this is becoming such a long video. My friend's been going to this dentist for a really long time, for like several years, and has had a lot of work done with them. So I do have like the added thing of like, I know that this isn't me coming in and then being like extra great because I'm gonna make a little video about them, you know? Like, this is genuinely just how they are. This is the experience that my friends had without any sort of like, hey guys, do things for me for free, you know? Like, they're just paid general dental experience for the dentist that they found around the corner from the house. Has been like mine. It's been the exact same really nice, really good experience. You know, that's just how they are for patients. So as much as this has basically become like an accidental ad for Dr. Rez if you're in Liverpool, I would definitely encourage, if you're able to afford it, that if you need dental work or healthcare or whatever, try and go private if you can. You know, I'm very, very, very much understanding of the fact that it's not something most of us can afford, you know? Like, I'm like, oh, it's only £300 for my fillings. I don't know how I'm paying £300 for my fillings. You know, this is going to be like pulling money from my friends and hoping people like saving up my Patreon stuff and whatever else, you know? Like, it is hella fucking money, but I wouldn't be paying an awful lot less from an NHS place. Oh, that's a lie. I would be. I'm on universal credit, so they would do it for free. But I wouldn't trust them and they'd put it in the wrong teeth or not. You know, I'd rather just pay for the right thing and I'll figure it out. And as much as I'm the kind of person that does think that all healthcare should be free, I know how the world works in some ways. I get how the world works for this, and I'm just gonna have to pay it. And it's the thing of like, I definitely am like, this is an accommodation to me as an autistic person, because general normal dentists are just fucking horrible for me. I don't think they're good enough for anyone at this point. They are especially fucking horrible for me. And it's either don't go to the dentist, have your teeth rot out of your fucking face, get gum disease, have everything go wrong in the way that you have nightmares about, or pay the money and go to the dentist and have it fixed and not have to, you know, like, my anxiety around my teeth has like gone down so much just because I feel like someone that I trust, someone that actually like is a real dentist and knows what they're doing, has looked at my teeth and been like, yeah, you just need those 2 fillings and you're otherwise fine. You know, it's just so settling and so much nicer, and it's just such like a part of my brain that isn't having to constantly think about that now. So as much as I understand that like most of us cannot afford it, I do not know how I'm going to afford it. They do like a insurance plan for like from like £20-ish a month. I am going to try and get on it, but you need to have, if you've got work that needs doing, you have to have that before you go on the insurance. That's how it usually is. Also, how fucking grown up of me to be looking at insurance plans, like fuck. But yeah, that's been my recent experience of private healthcare for the first time. It's blown me away. It's absolutely insane. I do think it's the standard that everyone should have access to, and it's really gross to me that it's not. But I can't change the fucking world, guys. I'm sorry. As always, if you've got anything to say about this, if you've had any similar experiences, if you want to say something, I'd love to read your comments down below. In the meantime, you can also follow me on TikTok and Instagram. I won't bother on Twitter, to be honest. I go on there to like talk about Afagni's death occasionally. I fuck off again, but like you could follow me there if you want to. You can also become a YouTube member or a Patreon subscriber, or you can also donate to me over on Ko-fi if you have money in this cost of living crisis and would like to help me pay to have my fillings done. But there's no pressure. I will figure it out. I was gonna be like, I know people. Like, I don't have connections, you know. I have some friends that might be able to lend me drabs so that I can like put it all together with my own bits, and then I'll be able to pay for it. You know, there's no pressure. There's no like, my teeth will fall out if you don't send me money. Like, it's fine, I'll be all right. But if you did want to donate something to me, they are there for you to do so. Or if you want to like become members on places and actually get things for paying me money. But in the meantime, whoever you are, wherever you are, having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I'll see you again in a couple of days.